Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor with RP and M3. I hope that everyone is having a lovely day. I hope that you're safe and sound. Don't let the people hold you down, but stay safe. We're going to have a good conversation about the state of the world. I see patriots from all over the globe. Thank you to the mods for keeping the chat comfy. Hog, Jojo, Wheezy Girl, Real Red Pill Girlfriend, honey, good to see you. I love you. I am okay, Marilyn. Yeah, have I done something to alarm you? We're going to talk about Mad Dog, don't worry. Patriot brothers from the UK. Queensland, Australia. People from everywhere. Thank you guys for being here. We know we love you. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Are you looking for a fun and hard-to-find gift for your dad this Father's Day? Well, check out the iconic Serbian Gas Mask. Masks have been sold out around the world from the recent pandemic, but Prepper's Peak has managed to keep some in stock for right now, and they're available for Dad this Father's Day. The military surplus Serbian gas mask is a military collectible and great conversation piece. This gas mask comes complete with canvas carrying bag, filter cartridge, cleaning cloth, poncho, and Serbian instructions. You can show off the military surplus Serbian gas mask today. Keeping in mind this is a military collectible and not intended for emergency use. With a limited supply available, only the military-grade Serbian gas mask is a must in every household. Don't miss your opportunity to purchase this mask while supplies are available. Please visit getagasmask.com. That's getagasmask.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. And happy Father's Day. Oh, the clone is back. Dang it. The one thing I forgot to do is shut off my clone. All right, guys. Yeah, I have a bit of a frog in my throat. I ran to get something to drink just before the show started, but it's feeling a little pinched off, so maybe I just need to clear it. Hold on, let me mute. All right, hopefully that was muted. But yeah, it's I don't know what's going on. It feels like there's something in my throat. You guys, I have gotten many reports from people all across this country about the state of the nation. Somebody apparently from Howell, Michigan, reached out through an intermediary, but said that there's a demonstration taking place there today, and there are reports of vehicles without license plates. So they're going to be getting images, pictures of those vehicles, as well as pictures of the VIN numbers, and hopefully we can help the Federal Bureau of Investigation identify which elements of these, these ant people cells. We got to figure out a way to say it, because anytime you mention the word, there is a sensor police that comes down on us from up above. Methods, how are you today? What's it looking like in your neck of the woods?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, staying comfy, hanging out. It's not too bad out this way. A lot of people, got it figured out here in the South, and they're just living life as normal. I've talked to a few neighbors and stuff, and they think a lot of this is just ridiculous, and we don't see it, man. The kids are playing, people hanging out, going to stores, less and less people wearing masks. They're just over it. They see all these things happening in the streets, and they're like, a lot of them aren't wearing masks, and they seem fine. So yeah, it's been all right. So obviously a mess to watch all this happen. It's really, sad to see all the highlights and stuff. That's why I've been turning off my my computer at night, not even following, because I know I'll end up staying up all night watching things on live streams.
Yeah.
But no, man, I'm good.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. We've got some new posts from our favorite Anon that we're definitely going to be going over. There is multiple things, in regards to this, greater issue that is taking place. The idea of good versus evil, the idea of, how the fact this is not just a physical war, this is being fought on many planes, and the spiritual realm is one of them. But the first thing I wanted to remind everybody is that yesterday and today is the 30th anniversary of the demonstrations in Tiananmen Square. And the reason I think it's so important and ironic is that, this was a peaceful demonstration that was completely decimated by a totalitarian state. And if the people who are demonstrating here were doing it over there, they would have been wiped off the face of the earth. Instead, our government, and I'm putting the blame on the state and local governments, not the federal government, because President Trump took care of D.C. But the state and local governments in these areas is not reacting with enough force. And when I say force, I don't mean violence. I mean there is an appropriate level of force that the lawmakers, the lawmen, rather, the police, the National Guard, they should be taking. And by sitting by, taking a knee, and doing nothing about it, they are essentially handing over control of these areas to these people who want nothing more than to destroy our country. They are winning in these areas. If our lawmakers and the people who are in charge of keeping the peace choose not to do anything, then they are just abrogating control, just giving it right over to these people. So Methods, I envy you. I envy the fact that you're not seeing this kind of insanity down there. I know that we've got plenty of people here in the audience who are, very close to this kind of stuff. I've spoken to people in recent days who are very clearly afraid to go out at night. They're worried about what's going to happen. I'm definitely on edge, like sitting by and, waiting for the next shoe to drop. And I got to be honest with you. I think that's what they want from us. And I am angry with myself for falling into the trap. There's something to be said for calm confidence. All right. Like, you need to be realistic about what's taking place around you. That's why I keep saying, make sure you're protected. Make sure that make sure that your family and your property are taken care of. Okay. You've got to have a means of protection. But don't let it stop you from going about your day. All right. If you've got stuff to do, go out there and do it. Maybe don't go out in throngs of people. We're seeing stuff like in New York City. New York is on fire right now. You were watching the news earlier, and Brooklyn is in bad shape.
Well, they've just got a lot of people, right now that are just protesting. And I saw a comment in the chat I wanted to mention from Betty 1966. Says it was never a peaceful protest, Trojan horse protest. And more in Red Pill and I talk about this, recently about it, that more and more it's looking like it's controlled from the get-go, right? And a lot of us have been speculating that. But the best way for somebody to pull off something of this scale, because we could tell that this is an attack and it's very organized, is to have all the moving pieces controlled. So whether you look at things like Black Lives Matter, and I'm not saying every single person that supports Black Lives Matter is a part of that, but I'm saying think about the control, think about how much they're involved, and like Democrats, like how much they get supported by that, and the media. And so you have the peaceful protest happen, which would be, as Betty's pointing out, the Trojan horse. And then you have Antifa come through, which happens to be, a lot of white people come through and then do all the violence, and then make the police decide on how they can go make them, put them in a corner of saying, well, they need to show, like you used the word force, and they need to do their job. But then it gets spun in the media, spun by the Democrats, spun by even the protesters watching them happen. Like they're saying, like, don't shoot us, but then they will like throw things at the cops. It's like, I'm gonna throw a brick at you, but if you shoot at me, I'm gonna go viral by Black Lives Matter because I'm here just to protest.
Yeah,
and that's the mess that we're finding ourselves in. It's very orchestrated to the point that we've even been discussing, and I think we're going to bring it up today about how even the George Floyd situation as a whole is very suspect.
Yeah, it's extremely suspect. I wanted to give a shout out to Neon Revolt, and I need to say, Heather Ann, people are seeing your comments. Slow mode is on, though. Everybody explain slow mode to Heather in the chat. So Neon Revolt put out his second episode of his podcast today, and he goes through some of these things about George. Some of the, I guess, seedier elements of his life. And there are some troubling things there, I mean, no one is perfect, all right? No one on this earth is an angel. Everybody has sinned. Everybody's done things they regret. Everybody has things they wish they could take back. But the entire situation, everything around it, is just suspect. And, I mean, you mentioned the organized, planning of what we're seeing. And I think that with that video that was released by Project Veritas today, I mean, there is no better proof than what's on that film, showing exactly how well organized these people are. I mean, they've always talked about, it's not really a group. Okay, well, they're holding meetings. All right, they're giving mandatory lectures.
They're hiding cell phones in bathrooms and making sure, why do you have to do that if you've got nothing to hide? But then again, the mainstream media had no problem interviewing them during all the protests in, what was it, Charlottesville? During all that time, and they were going after the white supremacists that were there. They were bringing on Antifa to discuss about how they are against those things.
Oh yeah.
And so to that point, there's a lot suspect around it, and we wanted to do a show. That's why we named it Occam's Razor, on talking about all the speculations around what happened with George Floyd and stuff going on behind it. And that's where Red Pill's going with this on the Neon Revolt thing. So go ahead, bud.
Yeah, so, I mean, George was discovered with a counterfeit bill, all right? And apparently there had been a couple of cargo ships full of low-denomination counterfeit bills which had been found. And, hang on, I need to get this thread up from Carol Quigley. I mean, so obviously these two guys must have known each other, all right? So what if something went wrong, all right, and then Floyd gets arrested, and then Chauvin, does what he does because he doesn't want Floyd to be able to tell any of the officers what Chauvin and Floyd were both involved in. Hang on, let me see. So there was $900,000 in counterfeit U.S. currency in a commercial rail shipment in International Falls, Minnesota, and it was found and turned over to the Secret Service. So basically, it's a possibility that George could have been a witness, and Chauvin was making sure that he wouldn't be able to be a witness. The nature of everything that happened, I mean, it's just everything is so suspect. So you got to think. I mean, this guy, he's no longer with us. All right, and it's at the hands, apparently, of that officer and then all the other officers around him. I mean, is it just that they're too stupid to say something, like, hey, this might not be a good idea? There was no need to do it. I mean, they could have easily put him in the back of the car. I mean, they had multiple cop cars there. So there must be some overriding reason why they felt that they needed to do this to this guy, and maybe he just wanted to silence him because he didn't want to be testified against. I don't know, but when it comes down to it, you guys got to listen to Neon's podcast. He goes into a bunch of different things. It's very entertaining. If you're not subscribed to Neon Revolt, I highly suggest that you do subscribe to Neon Revolt. And then I'm going to go through this thread in detail on my 6 p.m. video, because there is so much information, and it's not going to translate properly if we do it right now. But basically, there was, the restaurant that they worked at, okay, it burned down. It was like the only building that burned down at the very beginning, and then all of a sudden, George Floyd, ends up a casualty, and he and the cop worked at the restaurant. There's something here. There's something here.
No, absolutely. And I'm dropping that newest one from Neon Revolt in the chat for everybody, so you guys can go over there, check it out, say hello over there. I'm really glad he's doing that. Whether you love him or hate him, I've had people attack me for even endorsing him because I know he's had controversial moments. He's been fine with me, so I got no problem saying, hey, go check it out, make up your own mind.
Yeah.
I like it. I like what he's doing so far, and I'm going to check out that one. I haven't watched it yet, but the point that they were making about that, was it a club or a restaurant club? I don't know what it was.
It was a club, yeah.
Yeah, it was a club.
Restaurant and bar.
Yeah, the argument that was made is that one worked outside security and one worked inside, so they don't even know if they interacted. Well, that's
they're both on security though.
Right. Yeah. So they would have to have meetings discussing these things. They would have to tell each other if there's somebody that looks kind of suspect that they need to keep an eye on. I used to work, I know we mentioned this before, I used to work in music industry type stuff, not mainstream music, but security were all friends. Any venue that I worked at, they all knew each other. They all hung out. So a lot of them showed up together. So the whole idea of, well, they would have never ran into each other or talked much was nonsense and suspect to that point. And then we had, who was it? Jesse Waters.
Yep.
Was the one that brought it up. And he sounded like a show that we would watch on YouTube during that whole thing. I don't have the clip handy, so I'm sorry about that, chat. What's your name? Carly? On Twitter, who
Carly K
with the epic laugh. She put out the clip talking about or showing that Jesse Waters was saying things like, hey, well, maybe people need to research that club. Maybe they need to look into the history. They knew each other. He was asking the right questions that we wished all the media would ask because they act like they're experts on everything. We have a virus come through, they're immediately experts, or they just throw a label on somebody and they're an expert. And now we have, these protests and riots. Now everybody knows the right thing to do. And to have him ask those kind of questions, and it also lets us know to dig even further. And I'm sure plenty have right now, but it is to the point that we started this all with was if it can be that set up that far into the beginning. It's not like they were like, oh, this happened. Oh, wait, one was black, one was white. Okay, let's go ahead and just start protesting. And then, okay, Antifa's going to be like, okay, well, let's just jump on this opportunity. It happened so quickly. It was so organized across multiple states. And, to me, that makes me, if I have to put all my chips in one place, it would be organized from the beginning to end.
Yeah, 100%. So going to the posts. So the first one from this morning, I'm seeing two new ones. We did have one later in the day yesterday. President Trump's tweet from 2018, I'm draining the swamp and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. Obviously, it was as true then as it is true now. Their tactics have just ramped up a bit. But I point once again to the fact that this is military precision and timing that's taking place here. We're in a war. All right. And unfortunately, in war, there are casualties. There will be casualties in this war as in any other war. But these guys know what they're doing. All right. It might have taken the Allies, arguably, a couple of years to win in WW2. And I say arguably because obviously Project Paperclip, they basically won. They came here and take over the country. And that's what we're fighting against now, in my opinion. But these guys know what they're doing. President Trump, his allies, his military leaders, they have a plan. They are instituting the plan. I think these people have been allowed to operate so that they could commit crimes and we could have these cases built against them. Think about what happens in many other instances. They get onto somebody, they start following them, they infiltrate their life, they let them commit a crime, and then they put them away for life, okay? They have been identified, not only physically, visually, but with DNA. And Bill Barr, he was talking about that today in his press conference, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah. I watched it. I even sat through Ray and got a little bit further into it, but I wanted to get the clip out, and then we had the pre-show to do. But the main takeaway, and I have it out, I put it out on my Twitter, M2 Madness. I mean, I'm sure everybody here knows it by now.
Wait, what's your Twitter profile?
I dabble in Twitter. Maybe you could teach me later. But as far as what he was talking about, was the major takeaway was, he said, we have evidence of, and he was talking about Antifa. He mentioned he said other extremist groups. He also said people of different like political ideologies, or I can't remember the exact term. But then he also went on to say, and foreign actors playing both sides of this. And I believe, like I was saying earlier, you have the protest side and then you have the riot side, and they're playing on both. So that gets into the foreign aspect of things. And that gets into different kind of laws, that gets into different types of investigations, like who's leading them, a whole different set of crimes. If you're colluding with a foreign, that gets into the enemy combatant conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are going to see some enemy combatants picked up in this instance. And I'm going to call it right now and say that the CCP is part of the foreign element that is helping to drive this, because you look around the world, and China is the only successful communist nation, and obviously that's who we're having the most problems with right now. President Trump expelled all the Chinese grad students. Then China pulled out all Chinese students from higher education here in the United States. I see this as continuing to ramp up, and this is probably the thing that on the global stage I see as the greatest threat. And we've been told in the post that it is China, without a doubt. I mean, they're the ones who are behind all of this stuff. Obviously, Soros is helping in his own way. He's got his own goals. But, perhaps they could be linked up, and, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that kind of thing.
Right. And real quick in the chat, somebody says, someone named That's Nice in the chat says, I think M Brotherhood may be in there too, Huma connection.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something to discuss. Yeah, because they would all have the common goal. Like he said, that we would be the common enemy, or, the MAGA concept would be the enemy of this, because destroying America from within has always been their plan. You could just see that they were making sure that the sheep just didn't mind, just let it happen. And also, I mean, if you look at some of the times that you see Antifa, when they would be out with flags and they would be out protesting, you would see they would also be flying the communist flag. So you have to consider there is that aspect, but then like no, the protesters are black. No, the rioters are white, and you're talking about Chinese. It doesn't matter. That's kind of the guise of things that they want it to look like that, so you don't make that kind of connection. That this is the battle between good and evil. Full stop. And that's why, like, I'm really glad, and I know you're about to get to it.
Yeah.
Our favorite Anon brings up this concept, because we try to drive that home here. I especially do.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Now, but first, in post 4401, we're shown a Google Trends graph, and it's for the BLM graph. And unfortunately, here we go. I'm just going to show the post that our favorite Anon posted instead of pulling it up live. But here, take a look. All right, so what's going on? Back in the summer of 2016, we had a spike in BLM, basically flat, until right before the election. Look at that. A bit of an October surprise there. And then if you go to the current year, summer 2020, wow, it's really up there. And then right here is where we would have the 2020 election. Again, look, this is orchestrated. Okay, they are trying to cause division in our country. They want to exacerbate a problem. And specifically, it's been revealed that these communist nations, I've seen it from when Russia was, the USSR, they specifically sought to use race relations in the United States to inflame tensions and to basically set the country on fire. I would not be surprised at all if we're seeing a huge spike in that with the help from the CCP. So, again, what happened here? This entire time from 2016 to 2020, it's just a flat line. Nobody's online searching for it. There's a couple of spikes. And I bet you, if we could line this up with a date, then we might see that that's in coordination with something that happened. Again, they tried to drive it up. But right here, this is only happening because the election is coming up in a few months. This is the orchestrated nature of it. Now, going on to the next post, we've got a...
But before you move on from this, I wanted to make a point, and I can't take credit for this. I saw an Anon post it. Like, isn't it also like ironic that the Rodney King Los Angeles riots happened in the election year for Bill Clinton?
Yep.
So I'd be very interested in, if I were to have the extra time to do so, I would go dig around and say, what was Bill Clinton saying around that time? What was being set up? Did he ride that wave to get elected? And then do that for pretty much any change of guard, whether it was Republican or Democrat. We know it really doesn't matter at this point when it comes to these people that we don't, the corruption. I'd be very interested to see what popped up when during election stuff and how did they ride that wave.
And the really sad thing is that they are playing with people's lives. All they care about is getting their preferred candidate into power. It doesn't matter that people are dying. It doesn't matter that Americans are suffering, And what's really tragic is that they have taken the idea that the lives of all people have worth, okay? And they've turned it into a slur. You can't say that all lives matter, okay? Because they will destroy you. I believe that all people deserve to live. All people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But we've got people getting canceled on a daily basis for making statements like that. You have Leah Michelle from Glee. She tweeted out BLM, and apparently it wasn't good enough, and so they canceled her. You had Evan Peters from... he played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies. He put out a tweet, decrying the rioting and the looting that was going on. They canceled him. You had a sports broadcaster, I don't know his name, Methods, maybe you do. He tweeted out that all lives matter, and they fired him from his job. And I think that there was somebody else very recently that did you say it was Drew Brees?
Yeah, he said something about he would stand for the flag. I think that's what he said. I kept just saying it on the screen, and they went after him, and they made him apologize. So to your point exactly, this cancel culture that we talk about and see happen is really trying to set the stage for allowing this kind of evil to be. We know what evil has always been kind of the norm when it comes to the public, but now it's coming to a head and they're having to defend it as much. And the fact that they go after people and silence them and take down accounts on Twitter or, add disclaimers, say, oh, by the way, here's the truth, which is just implying someone's lying. This is where we are now. And that's even more so. Once again, what we're talking about is why this movement is so important. Because we call these things out and we don't shut up about it, and we know what we're doing, and it's highly organized.
And I will also say this: the CEO of BET is now calling for a $14 trillion reparations payment to 42 million descendants of slavery, in the amount of $350,000 apiece, something like that, saying that will end all disparity. I don't think that that's going to end all disparity, and it also completely ignores the fact that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that every ethnic group on the face of the earth has been held in slavery at some point. Not to belittle anybody else's experience, but if you're going to make reparations in some fashion, then you got to spread it out equally. Okay, it's not okay to say that just this one group of people was so terribly hurt, and so we got to do something about it. I mean, what happened to the Japanese in World War II? Okay, what happened to the Irish being held slaves by the British in the UK? It doesn't end, and that's the point of this. The argument doesn't hold water because every single group of people has been subjugated by another group of people. It's the history of mankind. And if we want to get away from that, to make sure that that doesn't ever happen again, then it needs to be about true equality, not about lifting up any one group above the other and making sure that people have the same opportunity. But it's not about that, unfortunately. That's not what it's about. This is just a battle of good versus evil. They are taking people and they are pitting them against each other, and they are doing everything they can to destroy our country. And that goes in...
You know, real quick, I see from the chat, because we're talking about this reparations thing, and War is Iraq, it just nailed it. He goes, then I identify as black. And that's a great point to make, because with this whole, you know, political correctness stuff and all that, they're like, well, if I identify as this, you have to call me this and all these things. I mean, I watched a YouTuber had tweeted out, they were apparently a post-op from woman to man, and they had done music videos now with their shirt off as a quote unquote man, and YouTube took them down because it would be that, and they were raising hell about it. But to that point, like, to me, I see political correctness is they're gonna die on that mountain, because it's not going to be allowed anymore, because we're finding our voices and saying things, you know, and we're pointing out how stupid it is, just like War is Iraq it is.
Yeah. And, you know, and I saw somebody saying, you know, what about the Jews? Obviously, I could have just kept going. I mean, there are so many different groups of people who were, you know, done wrong in history. It doesn't stop. And what we need to do is just, you know, come together as a people and say we're going to do better from here on out. And I feel like as a country, like, things have been moving in a good direction, except when it comes to politics, okay? These groups just work at pitting each other against each other and trying to destroy any progress that's been made. You know, I think that all of the rioting and the looting that's been done, it is going to set back so much work that's been done over the past couple of decades, because anybody who's affected by it is going to be, you know, they're going to be afraid. They're going to be afraid for their safety. It might stop people from reopening their businesses. You know, it's going to continue to cause division and to cause animosity among various groups of people. And it's just not fair. And in the next post, we've got a video of George S., the notorious billionaire, and it says, Democrats continue to serve the devil in his, demons. Freudian slip there. Demons continue to serve the devil in his attempt to lead the world away from God and into sin. Let's go ahead and watch.
I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. I consider the Trump administration...
The only group that is at risk with President Trump being in office is this organized criminal global structure that George Soros is a part of. Those are the only people that are under threat under President Trump. So he wants to lead people away, back into sin. That's exactly what's going to happen if President Trump doesn't win in 2020. We need to make sure that President Trump is reelected.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because we need to, you know, keep fighting all this stuff going on. Go ahead and refresh your page. There's another post that's just dropped. Thanks, chat, for letting us know.
Yeah.
On this whole point, because I know there's so much to say about this when it comes to the battle between good and evil happening. And I think a lot of this movement can agree. The reason why we see a lot of us saying things like we were outcasts, we didn't like the world, we didn't keep to it. You know, we couldn't talk about these things to people because they get caught up in their culture, like pop culture stuff and all that, because you felt like it wasn't right. And I know there's also a lot of Christians that are in this movement as well. And we accept everybody by any religion that you are. I mean, follow what you follow, believe in what you believe in. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But the idea that Christians don't want to participate in stuff. Why do you think that we always cover things like these award ceremonies where we see all the symbolism and just evil things happening and just perversions? You know, that's the culture that was allowed to go on for so long, and you could see it ramp up. I know I'm not that old, but I have watched it get increasingly worse, you know, over the decades that I've been here. And just to see how they were systematically rolling it through and sneaking in, they say, Satan is the great deceiver, or however Lucifer, or whoever you want to call that, they were getting away with it. So now they're pushing and dividing even more by getting people to say, hey, we are of this side. This is our thing. I've been seeing like very raunchy music videos from Antifa from around the world, like people that are praising them. And it's the same kind of music videos that you see, whether it be on MTV or just now pretty much YouTube.
Yeah.
Doing all these things, they were pushing that. So I'm very grateful that our favorite Anon is pointing out this battle between good and evil, because we get caught up in the labels of who's working with who and who's connected to who and what's the agendas and all that stuff. But if the reason why I can stay at least clear-headed to where I can try to remain comfy and chill and focus on the work that I try to do here is understanding that it's that simplistic, that we are dealing with actual evil. I know I've talked about this before, I think on this show or maybe a different one. I grew up as, a preacher's son, and I've seen possession happen. I've seen someone really be struggling with evil and listening to that evil speak out against being casted out. And just watching how just that kind of thing to me at such an early age let me know that we are dealing with this kind of thing. And it's not a surprise to me that like I guess the veil in between the spiritual realm and us, it's lifting. We're seeing evil play out more and more, and the fight happening between the good people, and the bad side. And that to me is the point that we need to be looking at anytime that anybody gets discouraged or they think that it's not going in our favor, or they don't understand. That's a great red pill starting into it too. Like, talk about all these things, and like, you consider this thing that they're doing perverse or evil, or they're glorifying something like killing in movies or video games or whatever you want to point out to that person, and say, that's the evil side of things, that they're trying to keep the norm. Mm-hmm. We're fighting for a better future and a more positive and really more religious, if you think about it.
Yeah, without God as part of our culture, as part of our community, people get lost. There needs to be a moral compass, okay? We need to have our moral compass. And as parents, we have to be able to pass that on to our children so that our children can continue the legacy. What's happened, it's been so insidious, it has been slowly squeezed out. And they have convinced people that God doesn't exist and that you don't need that whatever that level of morality is that they're trying to push on people is all you need. It's disgusting, and it's despicable. And it's been slow, and it's been quietly boiling up over all these many years. And now what we're seeing take place out there is the culmination of it. I would hazard a guess and say that when you go out and if they, surveyed all those people who are, destroying things and looting and robbing, to them, probably God doesn't exist. And, and like Method said, it doesn't have to be my God, all right? Like, as long as we have the same type of moral compass, then, I'm fine with you being whoever you are and believing whatever you want to believe. And I've said this before, even among Christians, there is a spectrum of opinions on things. So, it is what it is, but what I want for people is to maintain that moral compass, and right now we're losing it as a nation, and this movement is helping to bring it back. So that's why I think it's very important that we are here today.
Risa Langdon in the chat just made it. Risa, I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. She says, yep, knew there was corruption, bad actors, and evil, but boy, are they really showing just how absolutely dark and evil they are.
Yeah.
And that's a part of this is, this process of this, the dark to light, the awakening, however you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Over the last few years, it's drawing them into the light and show them who they really are. Mm-hmm. And that is waking up. I've seen a lot of comments and stuff over time when certain significant things happen over the last few years. You'll see somebody tweet out or somebody say on anywhere, they'll say, I'm over it. I'm done. I can't believe the Democrats have been doing this. I can't believe I've been supporting them. And that was their final straw.
Mm-hmm.
It spoke to that person. And no telling how many there are. I mean, that's just Twitter. So, yeah, no, I totally agree with you out there in the chat about that, is that we need to understand our enemy. And, yes, it's that evil.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Well, let's go on to the next post 4403. So we had a tweet, which is from the 30th, from President Trump. He said, "Great job last night at the White House by the U.S. Secret Service. They were not only totally professional, but very cool. I was inside, watched every move, and couldn't have felt more safe. They let the protesters scream and rant as much as they wanted, but whenever someone got too frisky or out of line, they would quickly come down on them hard. Didn't know what to hit them. The front line was replaced with fresh agents like magic. Big crowd, professionally organized, but nobody came close to breaching the fence. If they had, they would have been greeted by the most vicious dogs and most ominous weapons I have ever seen. That's when people would have been really badly hurt, at least. Many Secret Service agents just waiting for action. We put the young ones on the front line, sir. They love it, and good practice. As you saw last night, they were very cool and very professional. Never let it get out of hand. Thank you." On the bad side, the D.C. Mayor, Muriel Bowser, who was always looking for money and help, wouldn't let the D.C. police get involved. Not their job. Nice. And then we have a story from The Hill. And that story, it's actually a tweet. Breaking, Muriel Bowser criticizes fencing around the White House. That's the people's house. It's a sad commentary that the house and its inhabitants have to be walled off. We should want the White House to be opened up for people to be able to access it from all sides. That's from June 4th, just earlier today. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that. That's absolutely insane.
I just had that conversation with some of my team. And I'm one of those people who grew up in Washington, D.C., and has been very accustomed to being able to have access to all of our federal facilities. Going up on the Capitol grounds, our congresswoman had to push back from not allowing slaying on the Capitol, from being able to walk all around the Supreme Court, to walk in front of the White House on both sides. And now all of that is under threat. I'm also concerned that some of the hardening that they're doing may be not just temporary. And so we would also have to push back from that. So keep in mind that that's the people's house. It's a sad commentary that the House and its inhabitants have to be walled off.
Inhabitants?
I think that's a sad commentary. We should want the White House to be opened up for people to be able to access it from all sides. And I dare say that looking at traffic management permanently is also important.
That's an insane assertion for her to say that the White House should be opened up. Absolute madness, because she knows exactly what would happen. All right, these people have been waiting for that opportunity. Now it says, what happens if a breach occurs at the White House? Attempts coordinated to capture a horrifying moment. And we have a dictionary definition of goal: the result or achievement toward which effort is directed. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. What happens then? Heavy protected White House previously. POTUS warning meant to push rational thought, peaceful protesters, prevent coordinated anarchist, Anarchy 99 push to victory, White House breach. So POTUS was letting people know what was going to happen if they wanted to go ahead and play around. If somebody was to scale that fence, I mean, game over, man. Game over. Nothing's happening.
Right, and I was just looking real quick at that Anarchy 99.
Yeah.
And there might be something else that just didn't click it with me at first, but it says that they were the main antagonistic faction in the 2002 film Triple X. Do you remember that movie?
I do remember Triple X. Yeah.
Yeah. So Anarchy 99. But yeah, so ultimately I would catch this as they want to breach the White House, so then they get shut down, and the whole argument of peaceful protesters wanting to be heard going into the White House, and then they got taken down, or even worse happened because they're defending protecting the president, defending the White House, the main base of the entire U.S. That they're trying to get that clip and that soundbite, and that's just terrible. That's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, yeah. you know, I am very interested to see if these people are going to have the cojones that it takes to try to do something like this. If they were to have some type of organized breach, you know, they're not going to be able to get away with it. They're not going to be able to get away with it. So, you know, bring it on, I guess. I think POTUS is saying bring it on. You know, also, you know, we mentioned what was happening in Brooklyn earlier. Chuck Schumer is praising what's taking place there. And in Brooklyn, we've had one officer, you know, catch a bullet and then another one catch a knife. So, you know, they're out there trying to protect the city. Chuck Schumer is praising the people who would, you know, go after our law enforcement officials. Absolutely a disgusting thing to say. You know, we are truly living in the twilight zone when people in Washington, D.C. are, you know, condoning the type of behavior that we're seeing. But when it comes down to it, I mean, it's not surprising. It's, you know, par for the course. I mean, we have seen these people fully exposed. All right. We know exactly who they are. And as it said in the post the other day, you know, hang on, I need to get back to it so that I can say it correctly. You know, watching these, the police, okay, what happens if these funded operations get violent and engage in domestic tea? What happens if mayors, police commissioners, chiefs do not enforce the law? Think recent events. So they're putting themselves on the radar. It's going to be possible for the federal government to take a look and see, okay, so this police chief did not want to uphold the law. This sheriff didn't want to uphold the law. This mayor didn't want to uphold the law. What is up with Mayor Muriel Bowser? Who did Trump appoint the other day? Didn't he appoint like some interim mayor of D.C.?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'd have to refresh and all that. But just real quick, we got 5,200 people here hanging out with us, which is great. Thank you guys for spending this time here. 1.6 thousand likes. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue, that would be fantastic. And yeah, thank you guys for hitting us up on PayPal.
Appreciate you guys. Let's see here. So, you know, I mean, I think that the moral of the story is that, again, they're not going to be able to get away with this. It is a war on the ground right now, but we have the firepower, we have the military precision, we have the people in place, so they're going to go ahead and, you know, take care of the job. And then that's where we come in. We need to be ready ourselves. I've said it multiple times in the last couple of days. I've got lots of stuff coming to the house right now. I'm not going to let these people take over. And, you know, we just have to be safe and secure. Keep your family safe. Keep your possessions secure. But in the end, these people are not going to do it. They're not going to be able to do it.
Right. And think about how our favorite Anon has brought up the infiltration, not invasion thing.
Yep.
What do you think is playing out right now? You know, all because these people, because we've all seen, I'm sure we've all seen the movie Red Dawn, both versions of it. You know, they're not going to fly in from the sky and drop and attack and go after the White House to go in it, or like the movie White House Down. You know, insert movie here about this kind of thing. But tell me how this isn't any different as far as the outcome or the intention. The intention is to overthrow. It is to cause chaos. It is to sow division, and it is trying to take power back. So the whole calling it a silent war is all because we're not like fighting a war in the sense of how we imagine it, or wars in the past, how they've occurred. We are seeing this happen, and these are acts of war. Mm-hmm. And to anybody out there that's saying, well, why isn't Trump doing anything about it? Why isn't this, that, and the other? You know, because we get asked that all the time, and we don't even know how to answer it. You know, we have our opinions, but we're not, you know, speakers for the president, and we aren't exactly in, you know, the briefings about all this stuff. I just like to chalk it up to, you know, there's more information than we're obviously privy to. If we know it, then the enemy knows it, and that's not good. So to me, it's something that we just need to have the trust in the president. But most importantly, we need to be praying, and we need to, you know, depend on these things and have faith and work with each other. See something, say something. That's why, to me, this whole thing about the riots and the protests, the investigative, the investigative journalists, citizen journalists on the ground covering these things have been worth their weight in gold. covering these things, and then it gets to us on social media. We spread it around everywhere, and we cover it as such. That's how we fight this back. At least that's a part of how we fight this back. How Project Veritas infiltrated, had somebody who did that and went in and got into Antifa, and they're able to show video. And don't kid yourself if you think that's the only footage that they had available. This is an open investigation that Barr admitted to having, and our favorite non said it's gone on for a while. Do you not think that Project Veritas had to give over a lot of that evidence first?
Immediately. I'm sure
Right?
they did. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we're having to deal and fight with here. And, just look at it that way. I mean, this is an infiltration war that's going hot.
Yeah. I mean, our federal government has been infiltrated. State and local governments have been infiltrated, but we have also infiltrated them back. Project Veritas has been at the tip of the spear, with putting this stuff out into the public. And if you go back, many different reports, I believe it was their video where they showed these democratic socialists in the federal government. I mean, those people are the same people that they're exposing now, because this Antifa is made up of those people. That's just their public face. They don't show their black bloc face in the public. They show the DSA face. And I'm just very, very, very ready for these people to get taken down. I know that it's not on my time, though. I know that I am not in charge of these investigations. It's going to happen exactly when it needs to happen. Bill Barr, the FBI, they've got this situation well in hand. So, that's basically it, guys. I just want everybody to accept that we are not the FBI. We are not the DOJ. It's going to happen the way that it has to happen. Many people don't like that, and I understand it. But the only thing that you can do is accept it.
Well, and I see a lot of these things when like a local police department during all this stuff says, thanks to all the people sending in video clips or, social media posts to us, we were able to identify this suspect. We're on the look for him. That's part of the job of not just this movement, but just us in general trying to solve these problems. Is so that work is being used and gone through, and we don't know how many pieces we're putting together.
Yeah.
Just like how we refer to Nunes saying that they were able to do certain things based off of how the internet is even questioning things. It made him think about new ways to go about his investigation. So that we are doing that. And we're also, to your point about how we're infiltrating them, we have infiltrated and are doing our best to take over social media. We're on their platform right now talking. And but we're using it for the good and what we want to do to counterattack some of these things. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, could you imagine even a year ago? I guess we probably could, but a year ago, if I said, hey, we're going to be having all this going on in 2020 halfway through, just think about everything going on. Like, we don't even talk about the impeachment stuff. We don't talk about the Iran stuff. I had somebody make a great point to me that the left isn't even talking about Cold Case Joe anymore. How quickly things are happening. I mean, it's definitely, you just step back and you're like, wow, this feels like a lifetime worth of stuff.
It is
every day.
Yeah. It is a lot to take in, and I saw people in the chat saying that our forefathers wouldn't accept this and, we have to do something. We're running out of time. I don't believe we are. Okay. I don't believe that there's somehow that we're going to lose this fight, that somehow the DOJ and the FBI are going to screw it up, and then, they're not going to, do it in the right amount of time. It's going to happen, okay? President Trump has held fast to every single promise that he has delivered, with the exception of a couple, but I'm not willing to let him off the hook on the ones that he hasn't yet. This is going to happen exactly how it has to happen. I get how people want it to happen now, but unfortunately, that's just not the way things work. There's a lot of things that I want to happen right now, but by having the ability to accept that it's out of my hands, it really makes your life a lot easier, and you can spare yourself a lot of heartbreak. And in the meantime, you do what you are able to do. We are able to have this show right now. I'm able to have this channel. I'm able to help spread the message that we are trying to broadcast. And by doing that, I am active in this fight against these people. I'm helping the president. This is our message, okay? We are helping the president in any way that we can, and you guys are doing the exact same thing. don't panic, okay? That's the worst thing you could possibly do. Just be ready, okay? Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Protect your property. Protect your possessions. Let these people know that they can't come after you. And do not allow yourself to be so afraid that you just shrink away. They want us to stay inside, and they want us to be too afraid to do anything except take a knee, okay? I'm standing up. The only thing that I'm going to kneel for is God, but I am standing up. I am standing tall. I'm not going to allow them to destroy my life, my country, my community. We have to do everything that we can within our power, legally, under the law, to make sure that our country survives. And unfortunately, there are certain things that we can't do, but if anybody comes into my house, that's it. It's good night.
Right, and that's like the what was it, a sheriff or somebody that made that comment in Florida about how they stand behind the people in their houses who have guns. You know, break into their house, that's their property. And also that clip that was going around of people that were standing outside their neighborhood fence, like, you know, like the big wooden fence, and the protest was going down the main street, and the people of that neighborhood were standing there with guns. It's just like, okay, we're not attacking you. They weren't even yelling at them or saying anything. But if they were to go into that neighborhood, they weren't going to have it. And the police were there too, and they understood that. So that, to me, at a certain point, defending your own at that. Now, I know talk about defending the nation. That's where things get risky because of what the play here is by the other side, is that they would love for a full-blown civil war to occur. And whether you agree with us making these comments, I mean, it is what you have your own opinion. That's fine. But I see it at this point, going hot in the streets and doing all that stuff to fight these people back. I mean, to me, we need to allow the police to, you know, handle it. And if they're not doing it, there's a lot of talk of insurrection act happening. They are seeding the public with this any chance they get. And insurrection act happens, and then the military comes through. And I mean, where that to me is the better route. And I pray it goes in that direction. Right.
Yeah. You know, I see people in the chat talking about defunding the police. This is a tactic being called for by BLM. We do not want to defund the police. If we defund the police, then it's simply citizen against citizen. All right. We don't need to defund the police in order for us to be well armed. Okay. We can have our own militias, you know, in the in the tone of the Constitution. But if we defund the police, we are asking for lawlessness, okay? We can't have that. We need to support the police and make sure that the people who are our law enforcement officers are, you know, on the side of good and justice. You know, defunding the police is a really, really bad idea, in my opinion.
Right. And I mean, just to that point, I know, because I know we talk about it a lot, and I even was just talking about it, how, you know, we're not calling people to, you know, to arms and going all that stuff. I mean, rest assured, if somebody breaks into my house, let's say that a riot protest came through my area, somebody broke in, you'd see it on the news, and you would see me just fine. So I'm not that worried about it as far as defending my own area and stuff like that. But real quick, I know what we're getting to the super chat questions and stuff. So if you want to get that kind of pulled up, Red Pill. Yeah. We told people we would, and we planned on covering it, the Mad Dog Mattis stuff. Yeah. Going on. So I just want to make sure that we do what we said we would do. You know,
I think that the only thing I'm certain of with Mad Dog Mattis is that I don't know for sure what the heck is going on. I think that it's very possible that he is controlled and not controlled by us. I don't see anything that would resemble an advantage for us to have Mad Dog come out against him, President Trump. So it makes me think that Mattis is somebody that can't be trusted. I support him in terms of his service. Thank you very much for your service to the country. But he was appointed originally under Obama. So, you know, I tend to just think that Mattis might be controlled by the other side. There was talk of running him as president, as a presidential candidate at one time in the past, and I could totally see the Dems choosing him if everything doesn't work out with Uncle Joe. because they would have the, certain contingency of the military vote. They can show that he is, he's strong. He could have real leadership, apparently, and he could go up against Trump. And because he was in the Trump administration, he could talk smack about him. He's already talked smack about President Trump on a couple of occasions. So it could be optics. This could be another Jeff Sessions type situation where they're going back and forth, but he's not in the government anymore. So I tend to think that Mad Dog is somebody that unfortunately has been lost to the cause.
Well, and this is a great question to throw out to the chat because I had the same opinion as you. I'm not quite sure. So give me a 1 if this is the optics thing. Mattis is actually, part of, let's say, the plan. Give me a 2 if you just don't trust him at all, and this is just, a snake rearing its head. 1 if you trust him, 2 if you don't. So while they're doing that, to me, the only way I can really wrap my head around the optics side of things, because I can agree with you, the idea of him doing this doesn't help. This is the election year. What would be the value? And the value to me is, what would Mattis know? A lot of 2s in that chat. What would Mattis know about, Obama's presidency, what they were getting away with, what they were doing all over the world, all the chaos with taxpayer money and our military? If he's going to end up being a witness later on, let's say Obama alone, then the optics would need to be set that even during the election year, he came out against Trump. So I can have that, but man, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 2s, and Red Pill and I essentially agree with you. And it would be a pleasant curveball if it ended up being a 1, and this was a trusting, this is a part of the plan, because there's only one post from our favorite Anon that even names him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And he was just pointing out how these people are leaving. And you could be like, oh, man, is he named because it's Sessions is named in that list too? And you're like, oh, man, because there's that argument on is Sessions good or bad. But then Rogers is in that list too. And I think that we overwhelmingly in this movement, by a large degree, trust Rogers.
There's also this image that was taken of him with a black left eye. Clearly, it looks like he got, rocked by somebody or something. And this is an older injury. This is, at least a couple weeks old, I think. But take a closer look right there. Looks like he got some stitches. I don't know, unless he was drinking and he passed out. But I mean, Mattis apparently rarely sleeps. So, hey, Nate Kane's in the audience. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Let's go ahead and go through these super chats. Let's see. So
while you're pulling that up real quick, make sure you guys click that like button if you haven't already. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you guys. Everybody who's liked and shared, we really, really appreciate it. We haven't said it much this episode, but thank you for everything that you're doing. Domenica Luna says, you are amazing. Thank you, Domenica. Matcha Latte, please explain further the reverse timeline. Thanks, gents. Okay, so basically what I mean when I said that in the video yesterday is that the order of operations. So we were given, a couple of bold statements, saying that certain people were going to be arrested, that 11/3 was going to be the marker. But what that is, in my opinion, is we were given the beginning at the end. We kept getting told we have everything, we have everything and you have more than you know. Basically, in my opinion, the beginning of the beginning of this show was exposed in the ending of the movie. It was a script. They had everything written. And if you go through it, I think that's the end of the timeline right there. President Trump the other day tweeted out November 3rd. That was 11/3. It was a marker, in my opinion, and it coincided with the kickoff of everything that's taken place in the country right now. And, I think that November 3rd, the election here in 2020, President Trump is going to win, and we're going to get those promises delivered on. And so I'm looking for arrests to be coming this year in the fall. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong, but that's what I think. I think that everything was from the beginning. We were told that the military was going to need to be on the streets. That's exactly what's happening right now. Everything that we were given is the ending, and it's exactly what's happening right now. So you go back through, you take a look at it, and here we are. We're at that point now in those original posts. Chris Hawkins says, Keck, it's your inner Pepe. That's right.
Oh yeah, the frog in your throat from coughing.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was pretty funny. The chat was bringing that up. Real quick, guaranteed success in the chat tagged us both and said, just send a super chat with the word Antifa in it. Told me to rewrite the message. Wow. So that would be interesting if they're censoring that word from being out. It would kind of make sense, even though they would want to. A lot of people are supporting them now, and it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you for saying that. And if that's true, that's just more censorship garbage. Go ahead, Ropo.
Okay. Gaffer Anon said Neon Revolts episode 2 does a great job of highlighting George's shady past. Kirk says, how about Tiff Ant? Tiff Ant. Oh, like if we want to get around the censor. Yeah, this episode's going to be just completely squashed after this, guys, because of how many times we said it. So yeah, we need to come up with a different word so that we can talk about it.
Are we not allowed to say? You didn't give me a disclaimer before the show on that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but I always try not to say it. But my last couple of videos were completely demonetized because I talked about it at all. So, I don't know. Black Bloc, I mean, that's like, a segment of it. The Ant group, I don't know. I got to come up with something catchy.
Can we say Pantifa?
Pantifa. Okay, yeah, maybe that would work out. Yeah, Pantifa. Kirk says, thanks again, Kirk. Stephanie Oostven, call them ants. Navy vet, Vegas is pretty calm too. We opened the casinos and non-essential businesses today. Thankfully, we haven't had any protests too bad here. Looney Tunes says, Antifa mirror Afitna. Little Stevie 4172. Even though we are in a deep blue state, the conservative suburbs here in New Jersey are pretty peaceful and people outside without masks. I'm glad to hear it. Trisha QP Texas. I just sent you an email about a Dallas suburb. My nephew's family is there. Joshua Meltebarger says, Jarrell, Texas, operating normally. Thanks for the vid and y'all's hard work. Love y'all, Patriots. Thank you very much, Josh. Son of a green card, I found that the same map of the railways that Neon found, the only commercial line that goes through International Falls, is owned by Canadian National, and Bill Gates owns the majority of the stock. Not surprised to find that out. Diana Davenport, what's up, Diana? Club owner on the cop said that he had a short fuse, seemed scared. Anytime there was an altercation, he would always pull out his mace and pepper spray people. What business owner employs such a liability for 17 years? It would make sense if there was some criminal activity taking place there and that cop was acting as a buffer to make sure that nobody got busted. Vader's Force Ghost says, hit the like. Thank you, Vader. Redbird says, I'm so disappointed in Mattis. Yes, I think a lot of people are. She also says, my husband was called in on the Rodney King riots, and they cleaned it up in less than 3 days. Hashtag Army Strong. Dr. Larry J., thank you for joining as a member. Stephanie Oostven, hold on, it just jumped on me. Stephanie Oostven again says, AMC Network, The Walking Dead, has put out several statements telling their fans they are upset over their support of BLM, that if they don't stand with them, then they aren't welcome as fans. Speaks volumes. Unfortunately, this is happening in a lot of different arenas in the entertainment industry. Red Nebraska 77, I've been using All Lives Matter and will continue to use All Lives Matter. All Lives Matter. Racism will never end. Doug McDougall, Nasara Gassara is reparations for all slaves held by the deep state, where we go one, we go all. Yeah, and unfortunately that is true. I mean, we are essentially a slave society to the debt-based monetary system. We could work for the rest of eternity and never be able to pay off that debt because of the Federal Reserve. Trump Be Cool says, positive side to these protests, so many bad actors in government revealing themselves and showing open support for the Ant Group. Since you saw us on Mayor Council holding up budget until prisoners are released. Yeah, you're totally right, and that's the big positive that I see from it too. These people are now exposed. You better believe that the FBI and the DOJ are keeping tabs on this. And basically, they're just setting prisoners free in every major city where they're being arrested. They're being arrested, they're held overnight, and then they're released the next day. And unfortunately, it's only hurting the communities where they are being set free.
Like, think about the end of the I know a lot of people probably have seen the Batman trilogy with Christian Bale. If you remember the first movie, at the end, they blew up the asylum or the jail or whatever, and they let them all out for what? Chaos. And that's what we're happening here, is that they're letting out people that are evil, that support their agenda to go out there and know that they're going to not go out there and then be good citizens more than likely. So yeah, it's definitely messed up. But once again, when we talk about how evil this is, that's a part of it.
Arthur Weber said Aunt Tiffany. I like that one. Aunt Tiffany.
I saw Tifa too was pretty good.
Okay.
Whoever said that in the chat.
Let's see. Live Free or Die. Project Veritas posted a second video a little while ago, and this subject was on Aunt Tiffany's instructions to hit the liver and the kidneys, and it was taken down by this platform immediately. That's unfortunate, but I'm not surprised. Hopefully they are going to host it on their own website so we can still go watch it. CB says, Mr. Steve Bannon reads the new Federal State of China Declaration. I have not seen that. Methods, have you seen that?
I haven't seen. I've heard about that declaration being out there, and I don't know. And there was a video too going around of a plane flying. I'm talking about the new China something or other. Don't know if it was real or new, but no, I don't know anything about Bannon being connected to that.
Public puzzled by plane circling the Statue of Liberty. Welcome to the Federal State of New China. What the heck? What is the Federal State of New China? I got to look at this. Here's an article from Fox Business. Confusing Livestream gives few answers about strange banners flown around New York City. A sign in English says, congratulations to the Federal State of New China. The amateurist production raised more questions than answers. Guo and Bannon appeared to be standing on a boat in New York Bay with the Statue of Liberty behind them as Bannon read from a packet of papers. So this is Steve Bannon involved with this? I think it sounds like a massive troll operation to me.
Yeah, I was about to say that would be, to get a point across, a living meme, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But I mean, I've only got from what you read and what the chat said.
Okay. Good old Jack Burton. We're being used as pawns. They're showing us we're the most sacrificial pieces on the board. It's time to evolve. We know their moves. We are not a herd. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, don't play into whatever it is that they're trying to force us to do. Jay says, here I am, Lord, send me. Where we go one, we go all. Our cloaked unseen world, once the Bible touched the hand of man, it was corruptible and it was corrupted. There is only one true source, text to the divine being, God, go be with nature. I think that God exists all around us. I mean, if God created everything, then everything that we see is essentially an extension of that. Humanity as well. And that's why I like to say that all lives do matter. White Hat Granny says, sounds like DC's mayor's statement a few minutes ago might be sending out orders to access the White House from all sides. That's actually a really good pickup right there. Praying for our president. Definitely keep praying for the president. But again, I think he's totally safe, insulated. Daddy Crab says, Barry fenced off the White House, shut down the parks and memorials. So true, but of course, just like all other things, it only counts when President Trump does it. Navy Vet says, DC is the swamp and one of the most evil places on earth, including the White House. What if they let it be destroyed? Evil is extinguished by fire or water. This is actually a theory that I've heard floating around in the last 24 hours. There are a couple of different fires that have been set in Washington, D.C., and I guess that they are downwind, upwind from the fires, the White House. The fires are moving towards the White House. I think that we've all seen the overhead maps of Washington, D.C. I mean, there's a fair amount of symbolism that went into the planning of the District of Columbia. So that's a good idea, I mean, what if they are going to allow it to be destroyed so that we can rebuild and create something without all that symbolism? Navy Vet, thanks again. Two Dogs Mike D, what if the original video was a deep fake? The video of Big George. It's very possible. I saw many people in the chat saying that, he's not even deceased. And, I mean, again, when I'm talking about him being, gone, it's whether he is or not, I have no idea, but it's the public perception at the very least. Even if, we know something else to be true, whatever the greatest number of people believe to be true, that's the narrative and that's what's being put out. EO2 Dave says, I hope that according to plan, Americans inconvenienced by the decisions from their local leaders will show it at the polls in November. I certainly hope so. You know, I think that that is another thing that could be happening here. Like I said yesterday about de Blasio, I mean, I think his career in New York is over. He's not going to be able to be mayor again because people are going to see the destruction that was allowed to happen under his watch, and he's going to be replaced. Chris Saley, thank you very much. JG says, sounds kind of like a serenity prayer. Yeah, you know, friend of Bill here. Praise and Joy says, Methods, are we ever going to see your pretty face? Methods, are we ever going to see your pretty face?
Well, you wouldn't know if it's pretty or not, but I appreciate the compliment, and probably not. That's not a plan I have for the immediate future. So.
He's gorgeous. No, just kidding. I don't even know.
Right.
Let's see. Praise and Joy, thank you. Rose Friend says, please make a specific day and time for all of us to pray. Prayer is powerful against the evil that is upon us, especially at the exact same time. We can do that on Sunday, I think. Dennis Nathan Kane, he says, we need to be armed with prayer, level heads, and yes, guns. When riots happen, you don't want to be waiting for the police, saying to yourself, I wish I had a gun. Stay safe, defend your businesses and your home. Excellent, excellent chat there, Nate. Thank you. Guaranteed Success says, alt name for the Antifa ATMs. Antifa terrorism. Oh, ATMs, the ATMs. I like it. I like it. I think we're going to use that from here on out. The ATMs, the Antifa Terrorist Army, something like that. ATMs. Okay. Let's see. Our cloaked. Oh, Gino. Every patriot needs to thank God that DJT is the commander-in-chief. Amen. We have no fear of a military coup because of POTUS's leadership. Instead, we have the world's most powerful military at our side. And that is so true. That's why I don't get all bent out of shape when we talk about the fact that martial law may very well have to be called. You know, that was a subject we were discussing last night. I went on Thomas's show, and we were talking about the possibility of this happening. And there were people, a couple of guys in the chat who were like, you know, this guy's a clown. He's excited about martial law. No, I'm not excited about martial law. I don't want martial law to have to be declared. I'm just, I'm just accepting the fact that it may be a necessity. We might have to do it because these Democratic mayors and governors are choosing not to use the National Guard. And then we get to the fact that the National Guard is not trained for this stuff, okay? The actual army, the actual military, they are trained in, urban warfare and combat. The National Guard, they basically are used to being, passing out food and stuff, doing humanitarian stuff. But unfortunately, it may be necessary, and I know that President Trump is a patriot. He cares about this country. He cares about the citizens of this country. He's not going to use martial law as an excuse to, have some type of, massive takeover and become the emperor of the U.S. It's just not going to happen. Bruce Wayne says, just call them pansies or buttercups. That one works too. Two Dogs Mike D says, let's call them profa. Our Cloaked Unseen World says, call them Girl Scouts. Where we go one, we go all. Patriot Lady Biker says, I had a t-shirt printed up that says, let's get back to the business of living. That's a good one. I like it. CB says, look up the Bannon video on YouTube. Robert Hall USA, Mattis' Military Industrial Complex, JFK. And Reactive Mike says, what camera do you use for your live stream? Make and model. I'm starting a channel and podcast in August. My camera is built into my my iMac. So, that's a testament right there if you're ever thinking about purchasing a new computer. The camera is amazing. It's better than anything I've seen out there. And, I'm talking about DSLRs and stuff. I think you'd have to buy a very expensive camera in order for it to look this good. But I can send you a link if somebody, if you want to hit me up on some various social media platform, I might be able to put out a link to the exact computer that I bought. Keeping in mind, I bought it with my tax return. So, it may be something that you want to wait to pick up. I don't know what your budget is.
Right. Yeah. And shout out to starting a new channel. Anybody doing that, we always support it. Get your feet wet going on. And it's exciting times. We're going to be bringing on a good friend of ours here soon that's had a relatively new channel for about a year or so.
Yep.
So we're excited about that. And I guess we'll go and mention it now because I want to say it before people start heading for the door about our guests for Comfy Sunday. Why don't you start with Friday and walk through the schedule, and we'll talk about Sunday.
Friday is going to be Ola Damagord. He is a researcher of events like what we see right now. Assassinations and the like. So it's actually pre-recorded, but I'm going to be coming on and talking a little bit before I play the interview and then also after. So don't miss that one. He is an incredible guy. I absolutely love him. And then on Saturday, Dr. Michael Salla is back to talk about the secret space program. And, no matter what you think, there is certainly a lot of classified and secretive black budget projects taking place. And so we're going to be talking about that stuff. There's actual evidence to support the fact that there is a lot more going on behind the scenes. I think the Space Force is President Trump basically publicly proclaiming our dominance of space with this advanced technology. So, we've clearly got ships and vehicles that people don't know about. It's not like, like an F-15, okay? They've got crazy advanced stuff that we can, basically go from here to the moon, I think, in a very, very short period of time. And then I know there's going to be some people out there who's saying that, that's not possible. Space doesn't exist. Well, let's talk about it. If you don't believe that a secret space program could exist, then you can come there and we can all talk about it together. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and your girlfriend is trolling me in the chat saying Methods will love Saturday. Glad to see you here and all that. And also shout out to Neon Revolt. He's actually in the chat.
Oh, happy what's up, Neon?
Here, bud. Yeah. Everybody say hey to him real quick. And then, I can go ahead and cover what we're doing on Sunday.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, all right. So we have reached out and have been having a conversation with this person. She formerly was running against Nancy Pelosi for her seat, but unfortunately she didn't get it. A lot of people should know her from Twitter. Her name is Deanna Lorraine. She causes a lot of waves out there. We're going to have her on this Sunday for Comfy Sunday to hang out with us, give opinions. She follows a lot of the same stuff we do. She's very opinionated, and we love her for it. So, I'm going to go ahead and drop her Twitter link in the chat for you guys. If you guys aren't following her, which she does have a pretty good following, make sure you do. Let her know that we sent you and that you're excited to have her on, or not. Let her know that too. And, I'm looking forward to that show. It's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't seen her anywhere else, so I'm pretty excited about hanging out with her and chatting.
I just saw somebody in the chat ask where I go to get vape stuff. We have some viewers of the channel who own a vape store. This is in Louisiana, but they actually have a website. It's Cajun Vapes. They make homemade vape juice. If you're looking to order something, I would suggest giving them a shot. They've sent some vape juice to me in the past, and hopefully I'm going to have some more to try out here and show you guys. But all I do, if I'm looking for like a particular brand, like my vape right here, this is a Freemax Twister. This is fairly common, but they're actually sold out most places. I was looking to get another one because they were very inexpensive, and I like that just having the stick. It's easy when I'm walking the dogs. I don't have to have a big box. But I've got a bunch of different types, and I've got literally hundreds of bottles of vape juice that I've tried and then didn't end up keeping or continue to use because I don't know about you guys, anybody out there who vapes, but I get burned out on a particular type of vape juice. Now, Neon Revolt, I wanted to say thank you very much for coming here, dude. We gave you a plug at the beginning of the show and then in the middle. So if anybody here has not subscribed to Neon Revolt yet, please make sure you go ahead and do that. Now, Kelly Ulis says, hey, my dudes, my husband is the ATL police officer I was telling you about the other day. Now they are being asked to kneel for protesters. Might have an email I can send you. Please, Kelly, send that over to redpill78@protonmail.com. Doxymom says, prophecy, Trump will be a 2-term president. Civil unrest before arrests and Obama ripped and stripped of presidency. We are the news now. God wins. I think you're very right. Brian Foltz says, did you see the guard on their knees? WTF. Yes, unfortunately, I saw the guard on their knees, and it's terrible. Our Cloaked Unseen World says, Nikola Tesla Properties sent them to you, Dr. Horowitz. I have not seen your email, but I'm going to go ahead and pull it up because there was an email that somebody else said that they had sent to me. So we'll see what we can find. Thank you. And then Also, Nathan Scheel says, are they ever going to arrest George Soros? I think it's a foregone conclusion. They are going to arrest George Soros. Obviously, I don't know what the timeline is on that, but I think that it is something that has to happen. I mean, the world cannot survive if this man is still out there using his vast wealth to destroy country over and over and over again. Let's see. Let me get this pulled up here, and we'll take a look at what I have been sent. All right, you guys. But again, make sure you check out my interview with Ole Damagord on Friday, my interview with Dr. Sala on Saturday, and then our interview with Deanna Lorraine. Deanna Lorraine ran against Nancy Pelosi. She's a firebrand, and I think that she perfectly encapsulates our brand of conservatism and where this country needs to be on the road to.
Yeah, Oak in the chat just said that Deanna's been on Patriot Soapbox 3 times so far. Didn't catch it, so if that's true, thank you, Oak, for letting me know. I was just like, I personally haven't seen on the channels that I watch on a regular basis see her come on, but that would make sense. They have a lot of people over guests on their channel.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm not seeing any Nikola Tesla emails, so. If somebody, if our Cloaked Unseen World wants to send that again, then that's something I'll look for. Wait, I just found it from the 31st. All right, so this is long, dude. I'm going to have to read through it before I go through it on the air. But I'm interested. You do have a bunch of quotes from Tesla in here, and I would like to know more, so I'm going to go ahead and check it out. All right, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight, this afternoon. Please make sure that you tune in at 6 p.m. later today for Red Pill News. Dawn Has Broken says, report was kneeling military was actors wearing Hollyweird prop uniforms. Heard they were arrested.
I was wondering. Yeah, I was wondering about that, if that's true or not. And we probably need to go find the best sauce that we can on it.
Yeah.
But that would make sense, because didn't they already just catch somebody who was like armed to the teeth and was being a fake National Guard?
I did not hear that. But
they busted somebody, and he had a bunch of stuff ready to rock. So I would not be surprised, because to think about how much chaos that's caused. And on top of that, the shills absolutely love covering how, we're being betrayed on the boards and stuff with that footage. So I'm not too sure. I see a lot of people still bringing up Neon Revolt in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop that newest video again in here. So you guys just be on the lookout for that. Make sure you subscribe to him. And yeah.
It was in downtown LA. Gregory Wong was taken into custody by police around 1:30 a.m. in Los Angeles. He was outfitted like a National Guard member and was arrested on suspicion of an assault weapons violation. Check it out. Armed man impersonating National Guard. That's the only story that I'm seeing about it. I did find one about a fake cop busted on April 23rd. This is in Indianapolis. But just imagine, what this immediately brings to mind are those fake cops that were attached or somehow affiliated with Kamala Harris in Los
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
I hear you on that. Just real quick, because I know everybody's, heading out the door and stuff. If you guys are looking for something else to watch, our buddy 412 and On and his crew are going to be on here in about an hour at 4 p.m. Eastern. I am dropping the link to that, because that's what I go listen to. I typically grab some lunch after the show, and then I catch that while I'm kind of winding down after all the crazy work that we do. So I'm going to drop that specific link in the chat for you guys. You guys know the drill. Go over there, flood his chat with the RP and M3 sent me, and I'll be over there probably hanging out in the chat there in a little bit.
Georgia Peach says National Guard is trained with Army on the Army base. I'm aware. When I said that, that was a quote from a National Guard person. So maybe it was just their detachment, their unit, that said that they weren't trained for it. But I guess, in the end, what I'm saying is that they're not at the same level of readiness as like an active duty Army or Marine Corps enlistee, because those guys are living that day in and day out, whereas the National Guard they're just doing the what is it, every 2 weeks or something like that, or something like that. I don't know exactly what it is, but the National Guard is, extremely important aspect of our military presence. But if the actual military, the full duty military gets called in, I think that it's going to be a different level of force that's going to be in play. Dawn has broken. Thanks again for that. And Ron Estes says, kneel before no man or any idol, but only before God. This doesn't show solidarity. It shows submission. Unity cannot come by elevating one to another. And Jack Konopsky says, use favorite leftist hashtags instead of Antifa. Aunt Tiffany.
We'll have to war game on how we say that, because I mean, people get confused when we refer to our favorite Anon as 17.
Yeah,
I have said, all the 17 posts, and I see people ask me, which 17 posts are you talking about?
I know.
So hey, we do the best we can on here and all that, but I think we do pretty all right, man.
Yeah.
I really think we do. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here and hanging out with us. We truly appreciate it. Another show in the books, and we will be back at it as far as this show is, Occam's Razor, next Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and that'll be every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be doing the show from now on.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the mods for keeping the chat comfy. As always, thank you, Methods, for doing the show with me. And you're wrong about National Guard readiness. Okay. Again, I was told that by somebody they were quoting a National Guard member, and I apologize. I meant no disrespect. It was a quote from somebody. So if I'm wrong, I'm totally wrong. As I said, much support to all the men and women in the military, whether they're National Guard or just, regular active duty service people. We're going to be taking care of the problem, no matter who is out there patrolling the streets. All right, guys, love you, and I will see you tonight at 6 p.m. for Red Pill News. Good luck and God bless.
Much love, everybody.